on YouTube. Live on YouTube.
Awesome. I'm excited about this topic. So different to everything we've done.
Yeah, it is. And people like it though.
Yeah, I think it's food for thought for some people, you know. I was one of those people. I'm one of those people who was an intrapreneur for the longest time and never thought entrepreneurship was for me. And then I renovated my own house, and that was literally that was the last I heard of it.
So people think that the only way out is being an entrepreneur, and they don't even know they have no clue how to, or they're so stuck in that I want to become an entrepreneur. And yeah, not finding ways to advance. I'm so big on entrepreneurship. I admire entrepreneurs, but yeah, I think that I'm an entrepreneur.
Well, can you know, your experience is interesting because some people will have that situation and say, yeah, never, this isn't for me. So it had the exact opposite effect, I guess, on you.
Yeah, you know, the thing about it is it's interesting for married people. It's interesting for anyone needing to spend any amount of money on renovations because people have no idea what it costs the first time. And then it's an interesting experience all around because trust me, you're going to see flames and then more flames before it's done.
I can only imagine.
I know what Tarebi means. People do renovation. I'm like, I'm never renovating again. I'm never gonna try it by myself. What was I thinking? Getting professional.
My exact sentiments. Yep.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so I see people are joining. Hello, Tony.
Welcome, Kumo.
Hello. Please let us know where you're joining us from in the chat. Hope it's enabled. Okay. So the chat should be enabled. So just tell us where you are
1 minute. So
joining in from.
Thanks for joining.
Hey,
Welcome,
Nana.
everyone.
Thanks for joining. Hey.
All right. So it's 5 o'clock or 6 p.m. in South Africa. So I think that we'll just get it going. So welcome to everyone to another session of Let's Connect. My name is Shola Bumi Oriaba. I will be facilitating or hosting this session today. So good evening to everyone who's joined. We appreciate your time. You could be doing anything else this evening for you joining our conversation. And to the repeating or the recurring attendees, thank you for always coming back.
Have we lost Shola?
We lost
Yeah, it
Shola.
looks like our Nigerian internet has struck.
We prayed to the Wi-Fi angel today.
She got 3 of us.
Yep.
Okay, do you want to continue?
Okay,
Oh,
great.
sorry about that. I was still on, but it just disappeared. But anyway, our comment section is open. We'll like for you guys to drop in your comments, insights. It's a chat box, so we look forward to people's comments and insights. I think that over the past couple of months, we realized that that's where the real deal goes on. We get insights and things that we share after the session. So we definitely look forward to that. Please share your comments, your ideas, or anything else. Also, we have the Q&A section, so please drop your questions. We have a section for responding to that before the end of the session. Again, we'd like to know where you're joining us from, so please feel free.
So guys, please feel free to let us know where you're joining us from in the chat section. We'll also be asking you a bunch of questions during the session. And the reason we want to know is for us to be able to better frame the conversation we're having, but to also better understand the different contexts and how that aligns back into the workplace. You know, we are more alike than we know, but we're probably also a little bit different too. So it would be nice to hear where you're joining us from.
So I'm not sure what's going on. I see you guys, but anyway, I'll try again. And hopefully last time. But before introducing our connectors, I'll just give a brief summary of what this is. The series, it's a Let's Connect series. It's a monthly webinar. It happens on the first Wednesday of every month. 5 to 6 p.m. Lagos time, 6 to 7 p.m. South African time. Let's Connect was conceptualized by me just to find a safe space for career women, now transition to everyone else, just to find a safe place to discuss things around your career advancement and just relatable stories and things that people can connect with. So hence the name Let's Connect. So every month, every first Wednesday of the month, we are available, and we have a guest speaker that joins us to have these conversations. So this month, I'll just think we'll introduce everyone. We'll let everyone introduce themselves. This month we have our guest speaker. I think what our guest I think what I'll describe as a veteran entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, I would say. Anyone who does business in Nigeria will know that it's not a small feat. So I'll let Tarebi introduce herself.
Okay, hello everyone. I hope you all can hear me. So my name is Tarebi. I am currently the Managing Director of Yoke Solutions. I started my career many years ago as a software developer and solutions architect at a company called Life Technology in New York. I transitioned from that into my own company, Yoke Solutions, where we provide web and mobile solutions to private and public sector clients, medium to large organizations. Most recently, I founded QShop, which is targeted at SMEs in sub-Saharan Africa, starting with Nigeria. And QShop basically is a do-it-yourself e-commerce platform that allows you to start selling in minutes. Lovely to connect with you all.
Nice to have you, Tarebi. Thank you. So let Toa, please, if you. Okay. That's fine. I'll go next since I'm on the screen. Hi, my name is Shola Bomi again. I I live in Lagos, Nigeria. I work in the
Oh. Maybe while we wait for Shola, maybe we can.
Knows what our struggle is with Nigerian power space. So we are here doing our bit to solve that problem one day at a time. I think I like to start with my first passion, which was aviation. I was an aviation enthusiast in the power space, and yes, live in Lagos, Nigeria, but that's it for me.
Okay.
Toa, please go ahead.
All right. No, thank you for that, Shola. I'm Toela Mukosa. I'm the CEO for a company called Technologies Africa. We're based in Johannesburg, South Africa. We are an IT and business advisory firm. On the advisory side, we help our clients with IT strategies and digital transformations. And on the digital side, we've actually developed a freight movement platform called Wiser. I like to call myself a digital evangelist, and I'm also got a keen interest in social outreach. I'll hand over to Kanye.
Hey everyone, Kanye Mdluli. Welcome again. You know that I love to talk about everything entrepreneurship, so I'm excited about today's conversation. I am the founding member of Ladybug Consulting and Projects. The business established 5 years ago, so it's been a nice long journey for me, and I'm a seasoned project and program management professional. And together with my team, we bring construction projects to life. And we're based in South Africa. We're working very hard at staying trusted. It's a difficult journey doing construction, but we look forward always to doing quality installations for our clients in record time. I run a recruitment agency and a coaching agency that's primarily focused now on coaching, and I coach for leadership as well as for career. And I feel strongly that it's my responsibility to guide those that haven't had opportunities with their professional career, but now also with entrepreneurial visions and dreams. I have a wealth of experience in management consulting, 17 years to be exact. I worked between McKinsey & Co. And Resolve Group, which is now part of Ernst & Young. I also spent some time at Discovery, where I was helping enhance and protect people's lives and driving the implementation of people, systems, and processes. Yeah, a little bit of my background. I have studied business, also have a BSc degree, and I'm also a certified Prince 2 practitioner.
Thanks, Kanye. I'm hoping my internet is more stable now. Sorry about that, guys. So we'll just jump right into it. Today we'll be discussing intrapreneur or entrepreneur. So are you your own boss? Are you the next boss? I'm particularly excited about this topic. I think I mentioned it just before we went on live that I am a big fan of entrepreneurs. I think that entrepreneurs are bold. They are, being able to take that step and do your thing. I think it's a big deal, especially female entrepreneurs. So for guys who don't know, I'm surrounded by I'm sure you guys heard the introduction, everyone here on the air. Let's go right into it. So just start with researching for this conversation or on this topic, just trying to understand what an entrepreneur is. Always knew what an entrepreneur was, but entrepreneur, I thought that it was just someone in paid employment that just was accountable. But I found that there were lots of similarities and maybe key differences. So to just start this, I think we'll just go around and just get everyone to specify exactly what they think the difference is between an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. For me, the layman difference I would say is one is in paid employment, one is not in paid employment. in the way that your company pays you. Entrepreneur, you still get paid, but I think there's an adage in Nigeria that I think is important to put for context. It's something around there's sales or there's no sales. As an employee, you still get paid. While as an entrepreneur, where there's no sales, you're as the owner, you're left trying to figure things out. So I think that's the biggest difference for me. But I'll just go around the table and get everyone's perspective on what that difference is. So I'll start with Toa. Sorry, I'm going around the way the pictures are on my screen. So Toa.
Thanks, Shola. So I think to distinguish between the two, I'll try and start off with the similarities, because I think there are a lot of similarities between an intrapreneur and an entrepreneur. And then I'll just try and quickly summarize what I think the difference between the two is. So I think the biggest similarity between the two is that both are leaders, both are very innovative and creative and have drive. It's just that then the difference comes in is just that one is doing it on their own, like in their own business, and then the other one has got resources available to them in the form of the organization that you're working in. So if you're looking at career advancement and you want to either use the entrepreneur, you want to either become an entrepreneur, meaning go on your own, or you could actually be an intrapreneur within your organization. And what it would mean is you've either identified a product or a service, innovated that you want to drive, whether it's outside the corporate or within, and you have the guts and the balls, I guess, to actually go ahead and drive this new innovative product, meaning you've got the leadership qualities. The difference is one is doing it within a corporate organization, then the other is doing it on their own outside of a corporate. That would be my definition.
Yeah, thanks to definitely more similarities than differences. But I'll let Tarebi.
Hi, so I agree with, I think, everything Toela said. What I will add is, so at first brush, you think, okay, why do you need an entrepreneur? Why don't you just go create your own company if you're going to sort of act as an entrepreneur within a larger organization? But a lot of times what happens is the larger an organization gets, the harder it is to be innovative, because there's so many structures and constraints and so many other things that just are next to impossible with a larger company. So this is where an intrapreneur comes in. And the pluses are you get to do everything an entrepreneur does, but with a bit of a safety net, in that you're not,
Uh-oh.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you, Tarebi.
Okay, all right. I don't know what happened. So what did you hear last? Because I was still waxing on for a bit.
Safety
A bit
net.
of a safety net.
Exactly, yeah. So entrepreneurs, I think the biggest difference is they have a safety net. So like Shola mentioned earlier, you're not concerned about salaries. You're not as concerned about fundraising. I mean, you may have to defend the budget and all that, but it's very different from talking to investors and selling them on an idea. In this case, everyone, hopefully you're defending your budget already has buy-in on your idea. So those are my views on the differences between the two.
Okay, Kanye?
So I'm going to give a little bit more of a practical example because I've been both, right? I've been an intrapreneur and I am now an entrepreneur, and probably going to be a hybrid of both at some point in the near future. It's such as life. It's an interesting time. So for me, an intrapreneur is someone who's able to take what was created, I guess, from a vision perspective by an entrepreneur, a dream, a passion, an interest that they converted into a business, and help to scale it in the most effective way possible. So they have a skill set that can convert the vision and the idea into a practical implementation that takes it from now, wherever now looks like, to the next level, right? So for me, entrepreneurs are able to scale, entrepreneurs are able to leverage internal skill sets, entrepreneurs are able to understand the dynamics, the clients, the things that wouldn't necessarily have been always clear and apparent when the entrepreneur envisioned this business, and make it come to life. And I know when you read up about entrepreneurship, it speaks to a large extent about innovation and that sort of thing that takes the thinking beyond just the idea. Whereas for me, an entrepreneur, and if I look at how I pivoted from being an entrepreneur, is that I had a dream and a vision to bring something to life, and I had a passion, and I was very excited about it, and I needed to take this thing that's in my mind and conceptualize it beyond just in my mind and bring it to life. So the resourcefulness is to a large extent the same. The risk appetite is very different. The willingness to I read somewhere what I thought was a really apt descriptor of an entrepreneur is someone who's prepared to wait 80 hours a week to avoid working 40 hours a week because they want to build their own dream, right? So that for me in a nutshell is what an entrepreneur versus an entrepreneur is.
Thanks, ladies. So I think that everyone kind of had the same thing, but in a nutshell, to Tarebi's point, is also where you get your ideas get sucked away in the bureaucracy of a big corporate, and so the entrepreneurship allows you dive into that and just gives you opportunities to do more. And also to kind of around skill sets of an entrepreneur, so helping entrepreneurs bring their ideas to life. I think that's something that a big point that I didn't think about, but yes, it's very useful. Also, as we go into that conversation around innovation, I think there was something that resonated what everyone repeated around innovation. So entrepreneurs are innovators, entrepreneurs are innovators. So everyone there from the introduction was in corporate before going venturing out or pivoting into the entrepreneurial life. So I think to speak to what qualities, so in your time as in the corporate, what were those qualities? What are those things that you did as an entrepreneur that has helped you as an entrepreneur? So I think above everything else, innovation has been the recurring word that everyone has used in describing what that similarity between an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. But outside of innovation, what are those qualities? What are those things that you did in the corporate world, or what were those maybe habits or that you learned in that corporate world that helped you as you pivoted into this entrepreneurial world? So Tarebi, if you go first, please.
Sure. For me, I would say, I have to say I didn't do too much innovating when I was in paid employment, I'll be honest. I had a project, I executed my project. I may have brought a little extra, but by and large, the direction for the project was already established. However, I think my two biggest takeaways from paid employment were discipline and competence. And that discipline sometimes is very difficult if you go straight into entrepreneurship, because deadlines are looser, keeping to time is, maybe not. I mean, some people naturally are like that, but I think paid employment kind of forces you, when you're working on someone else's or when you're getting paid by someone else, you kind of don't have a choice but to conform to their standards, which more often than not are good for you as an individual. And then competence in that, the breadth of projects. I mean, if I speak from a development perspective, I would never have, or it would have been very difficult for me to be exposed to so many industries, so many different types of technologies, so many different types of clients and how to manage clients if I'd gone straight into entrepreneurship. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Kanye, please.
So we're discussing the competencies?
Yeah, no, just basically what were those things that you did as an entrepreneur, or basically as in paid employment? What were those habits? What were those what were the things that you did that has helped you as you navigated or as you pivoted into an entrepreneurial life, or that benefited you basically? So competences, that works.
Sure. So I think to a large extent, it's about your ability to take something that is intangible and make it come to life. Now, sometimes in a work environment, there's already a set strategy, or there's already a set list of objectives or the things you're trying to realize and achieve as an organization. So it is very much about taking things that have already been conceptualized and making them work and making them work well. So I think that was for me a big competence requirement when I was in paid employment or working for an employer. I think another thing is about leveraging people. I think in my last role, I didn't have direct reports. So I was reporting into an exec, but I didn't have people who directly reported into me. So I had to network quite a bit. I needed to influence people and convince them to work with me. I mean, you have borrowed power initially because the boss said, so we have to do that. But you reach a point where people need to buy in to this work that they're doing and in supporting you, because this is added onto their daily job. So I spend a lot of time learning how to influence people and work with people and work with them according to where they're strong and leveraging the relationships so that they see what's in it for them. So I think influencing was a big one. Another big one for me was being resourceful. Now, if you don't have a budget, for example, how do you still make things work? And this was actually useful as an entrepreneur too. If you don't have the budget, what are some of the things you need to start doing or thinking about differently? So there it's about relationships. There it's about knowing what the pulse, what's going on, where's what, how can I best navigate this? But also, I think where mentorship, and you guys know I'm big on this, where you can speak to people who will mentor you, who will guide you, who've been down this road before and are able to best help you succeed in your journey. So if I had to, at a high level, indicate some of the things I had to do, those were the important ones as an entrepreneur.
Thanks, Kanye. And Toa?
For me, I think I just also want to just reiterate that not everyone can be an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurship is not the only way to career advancement. Another way, if you'd like to advance in your career, is to have those entrepreneurial skills, which I'll talk about now, and use that to grow within the organization that you're currently working in. So for me, one of the skills which, and to be very honest, I didn't realize that I was an entrepreneur when I was in corporate. Only later when I came out and I actually started reading up on the differences between the two. And then I realized to say, actually, I actually was behaving like an entrepreneur when I was in corporate. So for me, the skills that I used in corporate and that I'm currently using now, one is grit. So as an entrepreneur, you need to have resilience, meaning things get really bad. And when they do, you need that positive affirmation, self-efficacy, self-belief in yourself that, you know what, even if things are bad, I'll find a way to get out of this. You're very resourceful, you're a problem solver, you're able to quickly find solutions to see how you can get yourself out of the situation that you're in. and the thing of not being afraid of failure. So the grit comes in to say you fail, you get up again, and you say, you know what, I'm gonna try again. Be it if you're launching a new product, if the product fails, or in IT, you're trying to reach your deadline, the app goes live and it's a failure. You know, you don't beat yourself up. You actually learn from the failures. So in entrepreneurship, it's like that grit. You have to have that grit. There'll be knocks that you'll get in corporate, and if you're the kind of person who doesn't take knocks easily, then entrepreneurship, it may not be for you. Even intrapreneurship, there's lots of corporate politics going on. So if you're that kind of person who doesn't have that grit, then being an entrepreneur might not work out for you. And then the other thing is you need to be a bigger picture. I hear a lot of people who talk about their work, and if you listen to them, they're very operational. And they don't see the bigger picture. Like, what is the bigger picture? How do the pieces all fit in together? So entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs are visionary. They see the bigger picture. They see how the different pieces fit together. And for me in my business now, when you're launching a product, when you're thinking about the product, when you're going and you're pitching, people don't understand the little small parts that come together. They only see the end point when you're now presenting this final product. But because you are the visionary, you see the bigger picture. You understand how it all fits together. So even in your workplaces, try and not work as a silo and only look at the current work that you're doing. Try and see it to say, okay, the work that I'm doing, how does it affect the organization as a whole? And also try to always have a bigger picture mindset when you're implementing your projects or even in the work that you're currently doing. So for me, those two for now, it would be that I can see that I did when I was in corporate was a grit and being visionary and having a bigger picture, because they always used to say you're very strategic in the way you think. Because I would come up with new ideas and say, can we not try this? Because there's a new trend, maybe we should try this. And then my managers would be like, no, we don't want to upset the client. You stay where you are. If you move, the client won't be happy. And I'm like, but why don't we try this? And that's what frustrated me, and that's why I left.
Yeah. All right, thanks. So just to sum that up and everyone's point, so there are marrying competence, discipline, conceptualizing, networking, influencing, being resourceful, grit, resilience, and visionary. But and that's all things that every employer wants to see from an employee. But just to round up that bit, so where people work in those larger than life companies, I don't know, maybe using an IOC, so where everything is structured and like Tarebi said, didn't have the opportunity to be innovative and things like that. How do people like that in that kind of company, how do you get out of that rut and being able to then have that opportunity to be innovative and do all of these things? Some companies, it might be through a project that allows you put your hand up and do more. But I just a thought around how smaller companies, I think that smaller companies allow you, be innovative. Smaller companies allow, or medium-sized companies, but I don't know that particularly big companies give that kind of room. But I think we'll get to talk about that as we move forward. But the next point that I wanted to bring up, which is my favorite, is is an entrepreneur really their own boss, or is that a myth, for lack of a better word? Yeah, are you really your own boss? Because that's the pool. That's what everyone thinks about as an entrepreneur. So while Tarebi spoke about discipline, which means that I can't stay in bed. She understands that you can't stay in bed till 10 because you need that discipline to keep your things going. But there's still that, should I say misconception? There's still that belief that you're your own boss, so you can do anything you want. So I'd like you guys to break that down so that people, everyone dreaming of being an entrepreneur. Yes, please. Go on. Yes, please.
Okay. My personal experience, at best, you have a bit of flexibility. At best. So I have flexibility in that I could say, okay, I'm going to work much later today versus, get to the office at 8 a.m. However, I do not feel like my own boss. My team are my bosses or boss. My clients are my bosses, because basically my role is to make sure I give everyone the best conditions to produce their best work, however that is. So whether it's training, whether it's equipment, whether it's direction. So if you feel, for anyone who's watching, if you think that entrepreneurship is what you see on Instagram and TV, in my experience, it's I can't stop laughing, sorry. In my experience, it's been very, very, very different. It's, of course, there are a lot of highs. You get access and you get to do things that are even bigger than some of your dreams. But then there's also so much more work that goes into it. So I remember when I was in paid employment, literally I felt, okay, a client asks you for A, you give them you give them a bill, and you skip off into the sunset. And it's nothing like that. It's a client asks you for A, but maybe what they really want is DCE. And then you have to do some discovery and find a way to sell them FGZ alongside while balancing your bills, and then also thinking where you're going to be in 5 years. So it's, answer to your question, Shola, no, you're not your own boss as an entrepreneur.
That's what I thought, but like I said, I'll let you guys deconstruct that and put it out there.
Yeah, I mean, if I have to jump in, you are your own boss to some extent, right? And by that, I mean, you are responsible for making sure revenue comes in. There's nobody else. You're responsible to ensure that the return, the investment, the time, the effort, the blood, sweat, tears, all of it results in something that's conducive and helping either change people's lives, add value to people's lives, or add value to your employees and your shareholders. I see someone's commenting to say, if you have shareholders, they're your boss, right? So the reality is you are still on the hook for ensuring that the business succeeds to a very large extent. That's the part where you are your own boss. Where you're not your own boss, I will agree with Tarebi, to a large extent. Everybody around you owns your time. They own your resources. They own how much that can be done in any given day, because the reality is you can only do so much, and then the rest is being carried by other people. So to a large extent, you're waiting on others. Your clients, oh man, don't get me started. Your clients are the biggest boss you're ever gonna have. So if you have the appetite and the patience and the grit, as Toela was saying, to start, to continue and to run when it's tough, even on the toughest day, then you can say, no, you're not your own boss.
So I guess that's a similarity between intrapreneurs and entrepreneurs. You have a boss.
Yeah. Yeah. Kanye, did you have anything else in that regard? Sorry, Toa, regarding
No, I think I agree with the ladies. Definitely on the customer side, that they are your boss. So yeah. I think it's just the way maybe you interact with them. You really do now care about how to satisfy your customer, because now you're closer to them, where you're now developing relationships with them, especially for us who are in a business to business type of selling. You need to develop those relationships. So you do find you need to be humble, have more humility, more authenticity, and they are your boss, basically.
Yeah. Another example that comes to mind, I was complaining about delivery. In Nigeria, we use this delivery service, people like bikes riders and people that sell like maybe, I don't know, just sell. And I'll do complaining about this delivery guys. And basically, someone was saying that she feels like that's who she manages all day, every day. She literally feels like those are their bosses, because our success is literally tied to those guys, and they'll frustrate your life, but you're trying to manage them and stuff like that. But yeah. So to the flip side of the conversation now, and it's from an entrepreneur's point of view. And there are two sides to it. So will all entrepreneurs make good entrepreneurs? And we'll also take the other side. But coming into this whole conversation was always around that transition from an entrepreneur to an entrepreneur. And having conversations, our conversations coming, our prep conversation, then also had us thinking about the flip side of it, entrepreneurs becoming entrepreneurs. So I'll take it from the first side is, will all entrepreneurs make good entrepreneurs? The way I think that I'll think about that is, with competences, yes, especially coming from all of the conversations that we've had regarding what people have taken away from being an entrepreneur and taking into entrepreneurship. So from the competency angle, that will definitely, an entrepreneur will definitely make a good entrepreneur. But then there are other bits that makes that an entrepreneur. So are you risk averse? Are you a risk taker? And things and other things around other competencies of entrepreneurs that are not actually written in the book. So, I know you've been bigger around conversations around entrepreneurs. So do you think all entrepreneurs make a good entrepreneur, will succeed as an entrepreneur?
No, it's not for it's not for everybody. Especially your risk appetite. If you're a person who is used to having resources around you, so meaning you thrive in an environment where the marketing has already been done, the sale has already been done, you've created this product, but there's someone else who's going out to sell, there's someone else who goes out to do business development, you might not thrive in entrepreneurship. So in entrepreneurship, that's one thing I learned hard, where you need to start selling. You know, selling is a very big skill that you need to have. So if you're coming from corporate and you've never sold and you're very uncomfortable about selling, you might find entrepreneurship very difficult. When it comes to the risk, yes, an entrepreneur does take some risk, but it's not the same. You don't have a guaranteed paycheck at the end of the day, and unless your business, has reached that growth maturity stage. But in the beginning, that comfort of a paycheck at the end of every month may not come. So if that makes you anxious, where you look in your bank account and it's below a certain level, entrepreneurship it may not be for you. If you're a person who, sometimes corporate cushions you from the knocks and blows of corporate, like for example, COVID has hit, some people maybe got salary cuts, some people had jobs maintained, whereas in an entrepreneur, you're being hit from everywhere, your suppliers, your customers, your employees, you have to look after everybody. So I don't think that not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. And even if you're in an organization, a corporate organization, there's some people who will not be entrepreneurs. And honestly, it's okay. It's fine. But I don't think it's for everybody.
Thank you, Tuma. See, on the flip side, so again, so you see now most companies when they're hiring, and everyone wants someone with an entrepreneurship mindset, or someone who's been an entrepreneur. People are actually even particular that they want entrepreneurs. So again, on the flip side, will entrepreneurs good? They will definitely be good entrepreneurs, but can they thrive in the way that they do on their own when they go back into corporate? I'll let Tarebi start with this. And so thinking about yourself as an entrepreneur as you are right now, and then finding yourself in the within the constraints of a corporate, be it startup. So yeah, I think that it's also important to differentiate within corporates. So there are the hardcore corporates, and there are the startups now that are pretty flexible, that allow people do all of these things. And I see that those are the types when they're recruiting are very particular around what they look for around entrepreneurs. So yeah, what do you think around people?
So is your question, just to be sure, was your question, can I jump from entrepreneurship to intrapreneurship now? Or is it the original question you asked Toela?
No. Yeah, okay, so back into entrepreneurship.
So I think that, I think as an entrepreneur, you could go back into entrepreneurship. I think one of the qualities that's very important for an entrepreneur to have is intellectual humility. And what that means is you don't know everything, and you know when you don't know everything, and you know when you need people, and you know that you can't do everything. So I've come a long way. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur, I think, for about 15 years now. And I've come a long, long way from when I just started. So when I just started, I had the mindset that, look, I'm this fantastic developer. I don't need people skills. I didn't even know I didn't have people skills. So I don't need anything else. I'll build you a fantastic product. And I mean, because my product is so great, you know, the money is going to pour in. Of course, it didn't work that way. And it did, funny enough, it did for a little while, because what I did when I moved back to Nigeria was I got my former employers to outsource my job to me. So for a year, 2 years, I had, you know, a standard contract, and it was sort of like employment, but not really employment. But then I think I had my first taste of real entrepreneurship when I branched out on my own. And I found out that I kind of have to sell myself. People don't just automatically like me, as I'd been in corporate, because of course they had known me for a while. I had to tap into some of my other skill sets. So going back to your question, yes, I think you can jump back and forth because a lot of the skills you need in both, you really need for entrepreneurship. And then one more thing I wanted to add, I know Toela had mentioned earlier that entrepreneurship may not be for you if you do not have great sales skills. I'm going to have to disagree. And the reason I would disagree, so of course, every organization needs sales. But guess what, as an entrepreneur, you don't have to be the one to do everything. So as long as you are aware that you don't have sales skills, you hire someone with the right skills, or if you don't have the funds to hire, you partner with someone that has the right skills or people. So yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. I think that intellectual humility, that's the big phrase from this. Thank you, Tarebi. So do you want to tip into that conversation before we go into the last part of the conversation?
Oh man, I always think about entrepreneurship as entrepreneurs born, or are they made? I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur. I was happy to climb the ladder as far as I possibly could for the longest time. And then I renovated my own house, and I just thought, this can't be how you do things. It can't be. There must be an opportunity there. So it came to me in my 30s, when this whole time I thought I'm going to be climbing and navigating and, deciphering the politics for the rest of my life. And so I don't know if entrepreneurs are born, but I definitely believe they are made. And if you have the eye to identify opportunities, and I love what Tarebi was saying, partner. If you don't have the entire skill set, fantastic, it's okay. build where you're strong and partner with people who are going to enable you to get to the next level. So for me, entrepreneurs can move between, I think, being an entrepreneur and being an intrapreneur. The challenge for me will be, and I'm about to navigate this journey, guys. So I will probably have a different perspective in a month. But I think I'm probably going to be a difficult employee, only because I've been doing my own thing for 5 years. So now I have to do other people's thing. So I think it's going to be an interesting one as I need to pivot. You know, COVID times have affected us all in different ways. So to supplement income, you need to be resourceful. So there'll be parts of what I do that are still entrepreneurial, and there'll be parts that aren't. So I'm just trying to think. Do entrepreneurs make good entrepreneurs? I don't know. The jury's out. I think it's going to be an interesting journey because your mindset is different. Your risk appetite is different. You know, as an employee, you tend to not want to rattle, move, you know, shake the boat too hard, you know, so you're very measured and deliberate and that sort of thing when you engage. Whereas as an entrepreneur, yes, your end game is to, you know, grow shareholder value and run a successful business, but you're not as vested in, you know, making sure you do it in a way that doesn't, you know, affect or offend, or so you're not navigating as carefully, right? I feel like we're a little bit more, you know, bulls in China shops as entrepreneurs. So it's going to be an interesting journey for me. But I think yeah, if you don't think you're born an entrepreneur, there are definitely many ways you can explore side hustles, engaging with people, partnering with people, collaborating, etc. across the board. So that's what I would add to the conversation. If you're not sure, am I an entrepreneur or not? Your risk appetite may not be what's needed to be an entrepreneur, but you can find other ways of collaborating and still get a feel for it. Going from entrepreneurship, I've seen examples of people who are just terrible employees after they've been entrepreneurs.
But you know, what I found is that some companies actually want that disruption. They want those people who've been on their own, who've been lone thinkers, who've been white thinkers, and those are the kind of people that a lot of companies now want on their team. So what you're going to say?
Yes, to add on to that, what I've seen happening is big organizations sometimes buy smaller like entrepreneurs. So you'll find, for example, there was a time where one of the big 4 firms wanted to buy BTA, Bytech, because of the product that we had developed. So what they were saying was you would come into the organization, but then you will run a business unit within our organization. So I would have then been an intrapreneur per se. I'm working in a bigger organization, and then obviously there are levels like that. So it's very possible for an entrepreneur to become an intrapreneur. That's just one way that I've seen it happening, where people's companies have been bought, and then that company is now been absorbed into the bigger organization, and then you would be now an employee, but maybe leading, managing your team differently. You inherit a new team, or something like that.
Before we go into Q&A, just I know Kanye already kind of spoke to it, and I think it's important. So are entrepreneurs born, or are they groomed? So is it nature, or are they nature? Is it by nature, or is it by nurture? So that's one. I've always been from the school of thought that most entrepreneurs, when I find entrepreneurs, I always ask, is any of your parents an entrepreneur? I always just feel like you pick it from, you see your parents doing their own thing all the time, like that's what I'm going to do. So I've always been from that school of thought. And then I look, and there's also the bit where you have to work for a bit before you become an entrepreneur, become a successful entrepreneur. But then you see the Mark Zuckerbergs, and they're doing their thing and running with it. So I do not know, but Tarebi, what do you think around being born as an entrepreneur? Are you groomed, or is it nature, or are you nurtured?
I think you're nurtured. It's a lifelong journey. I think the Mark Zuckerbergs were extremely lucky in that, you know, you just jump in and then you're blinding success. For most people, it doesn't really work that way. So in terms of, you made a point about working a bit before you start to do your own thing. And I mean, from all the ladies today, we've heard so many things that they learned in paid employment that they may not have learned quickly enough in entrepreneurship. It doesn't mean they wouldn't have gotten there eventually, but paid employment kind of helps you jump a few steps and, you know, give you a greater chance for success.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go into Q&A quickly. So I'm being reminded that we're on time. So quick, first question is, and I love this question. In a company where entrepreneurship is the desired culture, do you have any suggestions on distinct KPIs or recruitment attributes since there seems to be a confluence with entrepreneurship? So again, I think this question speaks to those competencies that we started off with. I think it was the second question around what were the things that you did as an entrepreneur that helped you become an entrepreneur. I think the KPIs, the kind of traits that companies look for when they're looking for someone who can be an entrepreneur is someone who, I would say, foster innovation, someone who someone who takes ownership, and someone who a visionary, sees the bigger picture, like Tuwela said, I've said earlier, someone that sees bigger pictures, and someone who raises their hand and always ready to take on projects. I don't know if anyone has any other thing to add to this. What attributes or KPIs do you think that someone who is a company who is trying to hire should be looking for in an entrepreneur?
I think they should look for demonstrated entrepreneurship, not necessarily or intrapreneurship. So not necessarily with their own companies, but some show of innovation somehow. It doesn't have to be their own startup. It could be someone else's startup. They should look for people who are not afraid to fail, because that fear of failure is a big deterrent or a big blocker for innovation. From the employment side too, so for the company who's trying to foster entrepreneurship, they also cannot freak out when things do not work because then everyone clams up. So I think those are the two things I will add.
For me, just to jump on that bandwagon, I think you shouldn't fear failure, but at the same time, you should also be looking to scale. Right. I think the thing about entrepreneurship is you want people that are going to take whatever it is that's been created and make it multiple times better, multiple times bigger, multiple times more profitable. So the skill set there is, to Toa's point, see big picture and what does that translate into in terms of the daily things I need to be doing in this organization to take it from today to where it needs to be in 10 years and whatever, 20 years. But how do I scale it? And I've met people like that, by the way, who are like, I don't have the risk appetite, but I have the skill set to take your idea and make it bomb, right? If I had to use good English. And then those are the kinds of skill sets you need to think about. So what does that translate into? That translates into someone who has, who's a visionary, who thinks long-term, who has the ability to leverage the skill sets around them, who understands where the organization is trying to go and how to best get it there using the resources at their disposal.
Thanks, Kani. The next question, so someone's asking that it sounds like someone should have a combination of both. How does one become an entrepreneur in your own business as an entrepreneur? In my mind, that's a given. Once you're an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur. So it's chicken before egg, entrepreneur, and you're an entrepreneur. I don't know if anyone has any other things to add to that. But I
agree with you, Shola. So I think maybe what I guess another dimension to that question could be if you find yourself stuck in process versus the overall vision, how do you get back to that innovative mindset? And what you do is you take a break. You step away for a while, not too long, so you can see things clearer. You also talk to people, talk to outside people. So sometimes if you're brainstorming with the same group of people, you know, for years and years, it's only a matter of time before you all start to think the same.
Yeah.
And then you need some outside creative, I don't know, juices, I don't know. So if you have a network, a personal network where you could pull in resources, great. If you don't have a personal network, I actually do this. Like I browse profiles on LinkedIn, I send them messages, I ask them if they'll be happy to jump on a call. More often than not, they will say yes. You may have to pay them for an hour consulting. Most times it's nothing crazy, but it has worked really well for me. So
nice. So that's a big nugget for people to take away.
I tend to agree. Sorry, Shola. You can't afford a board, or you don't have a board, get an unofficial one, and diverse as you can. You know, the different skill sets that you don't even you can't even fathom because your brain's not designed that way. So think broadly, get people who you wouldn't ordinarily engage with on a regular basis, and talk about it. You can't do everything on your own. And so you've birthed the idea. Let others help you bring it to life.
I agree.
I'll just add one thing just to harp on to what Kanye said is feedback. Also, just ask for feedback on how you're doing when it comes to like the service offering that you're doing, whether you're an intrapreneur or an entrepreneur, because feedback's very good. It helps you grow. It also helps you see the blind spots. So yeah.
Yeah, and also what I found a lot of entrepreneurs require, or a lot of entrepreneurs I know have used coaches. So I find that entrepreneurs really do need that. It could be feedback, it could be anything, but that's handled it, basically someone validating and just guiding. So the next question, I think this is yes, or I think we'll take the next question last. Quick one, what's your take on the notion of working in your business versus working on your business? Working in your business versus working on your business.
I think it's what
Isn't it like the same as the other question?
Yeah.
Correct.
It seems
That's
like
what
it's the same, right?
Yes. So we'll just take this. Oh, my bad. No, we'll just take this as the last question. What are some of the challenges you face as female entrepreneurs? These are my favorite questions. So we've kept it for last. What are some of the challenges you face as female entrepreneurs? So we'll probably take this as our takeaway nuggets since we're pressed for time. So, and what lessons have you learned and what lessons have you learned, if any, have you had any failures as well? So, combined questions. Tarebi, please go ahead. I see you were talking.
Oh, okay. Well, I was actually going to say I've jumped ahead for almost all the questions. So if anyone else wanted to go first, but I don't mind going first.
Okay.
So could I go ahead, or does anyone want to go first?
Oh, I'll go first. No, I'm just joking. You can go first, Tarebi.
Okay, cool. So if I'm being honest, I haven't had that many challenges as a female entrepreneur. Maybe because I don't know what it's like to be a male entrepreneur. I tend to, so I'm not someone that, of course, I've run into challenges as an entrepreneur, but I don't know that those challenges are gender specific. Some of the things that I would say maybe where where gender comes in would be if you're married with children, and the African construct, or at least let me speak for Nigerians. The Nigerian construct is a woman has certain roles, a man has certain roles, you know. So in that respect, it can be a bit of a challenge managing it all, or and it's only a challenge if you're trying to be superwoman. So if you want to be the one that does everything for your children and everything for your husband and be the best boss and the best daughter and the best sister, all the best. I have come to terms with many years ago, happily accepting that at different points in my life, different things will thrive and there'll be different seasons. And I think once you have that mindset, it's a bit easier. I'm lucky in that I have a very supportive partner, but at the end of the day, he's still a Nigerian man. So there are still things that fall at my, let me check, okay, he's not online. He's like, so there's still things that there's still things that fall on my desk. And it's, just stop trying to be superwoman. I mean, society puts so much pressure on women. Do what you can, do the best, and yeah, you'll be fine.
Thank you.
So yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Tarebi. Who's going next?
I'll go. For me, one challenge that I've found, especially in South Africa, is Black female, in my opinion, is seen as the bottom of the food chain in South Africa. So when you walk into a boardroom or a meeting, you need to command the respect in your content, in the way you sit, the way you dress, everything. Otherwise, the men don't take you seriously. And you need to be firm and put your foot down and let them know that, look, I am the CEO, I am your colleague. You will talk to me with the respect that I deserve. Because of the whole affirmative action thing, usually when they see Black female, I used to see this a lot also in corporate, you're in management and you go to a meeting and the minute they see you, they see BE candidate. What can she really bring to the table? So there's almost this struggle of trying to prove yourself. That's just one challenge I've found. And even in entrepreneurship, even when it comes to negotiations, sometimes I tell my husband, no, you stay away, I'll deal with this. Just so that they know that, we're dealing with her and she has the authority to make the final decision. Because sometimes they'll be like, oh, can we speak to Mr. Mukosa? And I'll be like, no, the final decision is with me. So for me, that I have come across that challenge in South Africa.
Okay. I think there's a second bit as well, Kanye. So there's the failures bit. So lessons learned from failures. So go on, Kanye.
Yeah, let me start with the failures and then I'll wrap up with being a female entrepreneur. Without the failures, there aren't any lessons you can take away. And I think for me, it's closely linked to feedback. So if you don't know what you're doing wrong, or if you don't mess up, you're not going to learn. And it's a hard thing to embrace, failing, especially if you're a type A personality like me. And so what I found is helpful is asking for feedback. The ladies will tell you now, I'm constantly seeking feedback on how to make Let's Connect better, for argument's sake, right? And I'm constantly sharing it because that's what's going to take us up, right? That 1% incremental change every single time is what's going to take us from here to success. So fear of failure is a big and a real thing. I think if we can unpack what that is for you and why that's important and why you base decisions on failure or fear thereof, that will help you understand what it means for you to succeed. I think it's highly unlikely to succeed without having failed. That's the first thing. Some of the lessons I can say I've taken away from my failures. So for example, unhappy customers, they're king. So the more unhappy customers there are, the quicker you'll learn. So embrace that. Secondly, I think as women, for me, and I see it as a failure, but also as a challenge, I find that guys collaborate easily and readily. And I'm very much generalizing. But I've seen that they're able to, for example, connect each other or refer without holding it like a personal importance or holding it to mean something to them, that, you know, if I refer Toa and she picks it up, it's got something to do with me. It actually has nothing to do with me. But to get to that headspace where you're like, actually, I'll collaborate, it'll work, it won't work, it's fine, I'll learn from it and I'll move on, dust myself off and I'll move on. I think for me, that's been a challenge and a failure, I think potentially for us as women in business, for at least for the South African context. I'd love to see big, and maybe I don't read enough on this stuff, I don't hear enough about it, big collaborations, women-led, women-run. Like right now, there's a new bank in South Africa.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right, 4 female founders came together, and now there's a community bank. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Like a micro bank or something like that.
For women, right? I want to hear more of that. So I'm excited about that, and I would love for us to do more of that sort of thing as women and support each other, man.
Thank you, Kanye. We've run out of time. There's one more question, but we won't be able to take it. It's around funding, raising finance for as an entrepreneur. I don't know that we have the answers to that, but again, it's finding, digging deep and just finding what other people are doing to access this funding. It's a tough one. It looks like it's Nigeria, so I know that that's a very tough one, and we won't be able to answer that here. Typically,
sorry.
Yeah.
On the funding part, banks are actually more aligned to finance a man than a woman.
Yeah, but there are all these opportunities now for impact funding that supports women businesses. I know it's still hard, but they're probably out there. But I agree with you. Men businesses they do better with funding. But anyways, I think that it's 7 minutes past. I wanted us to go into nuggets, but we'll take that challenges and failures as our nuggets, takeaways from this session. Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Tarebi, again for
you guys
joining our conversation. Yes, we your experience and insights were very useful. Thank you. We appreciate it. Thanks to everyone for joining the session. It's the first Wednesday of every month, and we look forward to having you guys next month. Thank you, and have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Toela. Thanks, Kanye.
Follow us
so much, Tarebi.
Please.
Thank you, Kanye.
Subscribe to our YouTube. Please follow us on our socials at Let's Connect, on Facebook, on Instagram, and please subscribe to our channel on YouTube.
Will do.
Thank you, ladies. Have a good night.
You too. All right. Bye-bye.